Welcome to the Blue Micromoon Banishing Meditation. I am Rookwood Moon, and I am here to guide you to a shoreline where the sea pulls back under the farthest moon of the year and takes with it the fuel that feeds division. Find a quiet place where no one will disturb you. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Let your body grow heavy and still. Choose a single point to focus on and let your gaze linger there. Soft, steady, unblinking. Inhale deeply, filling the hollow of your chest, expanding the cavern of your lungs. Hold it for a heartbeat and savor the fullness. Then release, slow and steady, like a sigh dissolving into night. Again, inhale deeply. Feel the cool air brush your nostrils, expand within you, and stir your ribs. Hold, and exhale, letting your body soften, your mind loosen. A third time, breathe in, hold. As you exhale, allow your eyes to gently close. For a moment, just be here. Be aware of the darkness you're in with your eyes shut. Let your mind be quiet. If thoughts or concerns arise about things that need to be done, simply notice them. Acknowledge them with a soft nod and let them drift aside. They will wait. Remember, you are not your thoughts. Here, in this stillness, you are your soul, present, luminous, and on its own sacred journey. This is your time, your choice, your self-care. Whether your path is just beginning or has been long unfolding, this moment of meditation is meaningful, and you are worthy of the connection. Now, let your senses stretch out. Notice the gentle current of energy flowing deep beneath the earth, like a river smooth and slow. Let it draw your heaviness down and down and down. Feel that deep, steady heartbeat of the earth, ancient, unhurried, eternal. This rhythm anchors you and opens a pathway into the sacred space of meditative transformation. Now held in the deep pulse of the earth, anchored, not bound, feel a stillness settle within you. And from this stillness, something begins to stir. A subtle opening, a soft beckoning. You are at the threshold of this world, and with one step, you cross the veil into that sacred space. We are the souls who gather at the edge of what must end. We do not seek to destroy what troubles this world through force alone. We open to the older, quieter power, the drawing away, the great receding, the banishing tide. This day releases its hold. The blue micromoon calls, summoning to this liminal shore all souls who feel the weight of a world that has forgotten how to see its own humanity. All who are willing to stand at the threshold between what has been and what must be released, as the smallest, most distant full moon of the year reaches its farthest point from Earth and begins its slow, inexorable pull away. If you are joining this meditation at a different time, that's okay. We'll just tap into the energy of the micromoon. Here in the sanctuary of your breath, there is nothing to fix, only the mechanism of forgetting that waits to be gently, irrevocably dissolved by the tide. Allow every sound around you to draw you deeper into this moment of lunar reckoning. Every distant noise becomes an invitation to release what keeps the walls between human hearts standing. Every distraction becomes permission to let go. Let the clamoring world soften like surf over stone, wearing down what is hard and leaving behind only what is true. Feel the weight of your body completely supported by ancient earth. And as you settle deeper into this moment, let your imagination begin to reach toward the water. Feel the rhythm of your grieving, hoping, enduring heart. That sacred drum has been beating your courage into form since before you understood how much courage this time would ask of you. What if there is a wound in the collective body that has been waiting for precisely this lunar weather to begin its healing? What if banishing is not about hatred of what we release, but love of what we reclaim? What would that look like for you, for your community, for the strangers you have never met, whose faces have been made abstract by distance and rhetoric? What if, just for this hour, you could step into clear-eyed compassion, like standing at a shoreline where the farthest moon commands the tide, pulling back the silt of dehumanization to reveal the living thing beneath? What shifts if you let the tide do its ancient work? What if your discomfort with the state of the world is simply the sensation of your conscience refusing to go numb? What if the noise of conflict is not the whole story, but actually the sound of a paradigm fighting its own disillusion? What if your nervous system's ache at the news is itself a form of sacred knowing? What would you allow to release tonight if you understood that the moon is already doing most of the work, and you are here simply to lend your intention to its pull? Is there an old story about the irredeemable otherness of some people that you are ready to sacrifice to the tide? Will you let the moon carry it out to sea? And what becomes possible for this world when enough of us say yes to that releasing? What if the you who shows up for this working is far more powerful than the you who fears that one person's intention cannot matter? What if you are not a person trying to heal a broken world, but healing itself, remembering its most natural expression as quiet, persistent, undeniable tide? Mind is growing still as water before the moon makes it flow. The voice of helplessness and overwhelm is becoming distant, drifting further and further away, like sea foam dissolving, until only the silver silence of intention remains. And then presence, pure, willing presence. Listen, not with your physical ears, but with the part of you that has always known the difference between a human being and the story told about them. What do you feel? Can you feel a summoning? Can you feel a deep lunar pull echoing from the place where water meets shore? Through veils of silver moonlight and salt scent of the ancient sea, something necessary awaits on the shoreline ahead. It is the banishing tide, the moment when the blue micromoon reaches apogee, its greatest distance from the earth, and the gravitational truth of that distance becomes a working. It calls not to harden you against the world. It calls not to feed your rage, however righteous. It calls to draw out what has been poured into the space between human beings to make them monstrous to each other. Through the blue dark of this late May night, or whenever you're here, you see a shoreline rising ahead. Dark sand, silver with moonlight, the sea, vast and unhurried, pulling back from the land in long, slow exhalations. Ancient, purposeful, a place of power where earth surrenders to water and water surrenders to moon. And at the waterline, barely visible from here, a place where the tide has drawn back to reveal the bare, dark, honest shore. You understand now. You are about to descend to the place where banishing happens, where the fuel of dehumanization, that invisible accelerant poured between people to make them forget each other's realness, will be drawn out of the collective field and carried away by the farthest, most quietly powerful moon of the year. It is the ancient authority of water meeting the pull of distance. It is the world's grief becoming tidal force. It is the shore calling you to the working you were born for this night. Now imagine your spirit body standing at the top of the dunes. See yourself approaching the path down through the seagrass to the water. Feel the weight of what you carry on behalf of this world. Feel the dual nature of this moment. Feel the earth beneath you. Feel the moon's pull above you. Feel the thing you have come to release beginning to stir, recognizing this tide. Feel your own grief and love for humanity rising together, the two inseparable, the fuel of the working. And as you inhale, you breathe in the essence of the ancient sea itself, salt and depth and the memory of every tide that has ever cleansed a shore. And as you exhale, you release one breath worth of the weight, leaving the story of irredeemable otherness behind, like a footprint the water has already moved to fill. We are preparing to descend to the shoreline now, into the realm where the micromoon commands and the tide obeys. Through the shore of the receding light, where time moves like water, and you are already the instrument of banishing that the moon knows you to be. The shore's presence fills you with quiet certainty. Lunar power gathers like the held breath of the sea before the wave withdraws. We will now walk through the blue-silver darkness of your expanding awareness, from the world of noise and division to the world of tide and intention. With every step, you will feel 10 times more rooted in the sacred purpose of this night, and 10 times more ready to receive the moon's banishing authority. 10. Your feet find the path through the seagrass. still warm from the day's sun. Each step releases the belief that you are too small for this work. You are descending toward the tide line so that small becomes irrelevant in the face of the moon. Nine. Your legs carry you steady and sure down toward the water. The air becomes cooler, salt sharp, alive with the breath of the receding sea. Every doubt about whether one person's intention matters dissolves like sea foam in the dark, making space for the fierce clarity of purpose. You are descending into your deepest knowing. Eight. The path winds down along the face of the dune. The sand shifts softly beneath your feet, ancient and unbothered. You can see the moonlight on the water, that particular silver that belongs only to a full moon over open sea, distant and luminous, and utterly certain of its authority. Seven. You pause and look back. The everyday world seems smaller, distant, bound by the noise and the rhetoric and the endless machinery of division. Feel yourself moving below all of that now. Each breath carries you deeper into the original silence where human beings are simply human beings. Six. The shoreline is close now. You can see where the tide has pulled back, that revealed strip of dark, bare, honest earth that only appears when the water recedes. Open, waiting, the working place. Something in your chest begins to hum, not with excitement, but with recognition. You have come here before, in dream, in longing, in the part of you that refused to stop caring. Five. You reach the bottom of the path and feel the first firm press of wet sand beneath your feet. The air here is different. It's dense with intention. Maybe you have come on the exact night of the blue moon's peak. Maybe you come later, reaching through the ether to meet the potency of this apogee moment. Either way, you can feel the lunar pole expanding, deepening, ripening into authority. Four. You step onto the revealed shore itself, that liminal strip between sea and land, belonging to neither, belonging to the tide, open to the vast sky in all directions. The moon hangs overhead, small and brilliant, farther from Earth tonight than it will be all year. Three. This is a ceremonial site, a place of banishing, of release. Feel the solidity of the wet sand. It is the embodiment of readiness, of grief alchemized into purpose, of love made operational. The wind picks up, moving in off the water, carrying the scent of depth and distance and the cold authority of the open ocean. The tide is almost at its fullest recession. The moon is almost at apogee. Feel your intention pulsing stronger now, sharpening, clarifying, focused on the invisible fuel that has been burning between human hearts, making strangers into enemies. Two. Walk to the very edge of the water. Above, the blue moon hangs distant and perfect. Below, the tide pulls back and back and back, exposing the dark, honest earth. It is earth. The wind off the sea is air. The water is ancient memory, and together, you and the moon await the moment when lunar authority and human intention combine for that working moment, that banishing moment, when celestial distance creates sacred space for all of us. One. This is the threshold. The tide turns. You are the shore between what has been and what the tide will carry away. You are the point where lunar authority meets human love, and the working begins. Feel the pull, not dramatic, not violent, the way the sea pulls, inevitable, unhurried, stronger than anything that tries to resist it. The water slides back across your feet and ankles, cold and alive, and as it moves away from the shore, it takes the loose sediment with it. This is how the tide vanishes, not by force, by the authority of its own nature. And the working opens. Before you, in the revealed space between the tide lines, something becomes visible that is usually invisible. A substance, not physical, but real the way intentions are real, the way fear is real, the way propaganda is real when it moves through a population and alters what people see when they look at each other. It has many names and many times. Tonight you will name it clearly. It is the fuel of dehumanization. It is the invisible accelerant poured into the space between human beings to make them forget each other's essential realness, to make a neighbor into a category, to make a stranger into a symbol, to make a person into a problem. It is ancient, it is deliberate, and tonight, in the authority of the blue moon at apogee, or whenever you're here, this invisible accelerant becomes visible so that it may be drawn out. Look at it without flinching. It has the texture of dried fear, the color of old contempt, the smell of rhetoric repeated until it hollows out the language it inhabits. It does not belong to any one side of any argument. It belongs to no people, no nation, and no cause. It is the mechanism, the machine beneath the machine, the thing that makes otherwise ordinary human beings capable of extraordinary cruelty toward other ordinary human beings. You are not here to condemn it. You are here to remove it. Feel the first pull of the tide move through the working. The fuel of dehumanization begins to loosen at its edges, the way old sediment loosens when the tide takes it. Not all at once, but steadily, grain by grain, the structure beginning to yield to something older and more authoritative than itself. Watch as the first layer lifts and moves toward the water. This is the language of layer, the words that have been weaponized, the phrases repeated until they stopped meaning people and started meaning targets. The words that require human beings to disappear before they can be spoken. Feel the tide pull at these words, loosening their hold on the collective throat. They lift, they move toward the water. The sea receives them and they dissolve into salt and meaninglessness. Their power to abstract a human being into category, draining away like color from cloth. Breathe. This is the work. Stay with the intention. The second pull moves deeper. Beneath the language layer lies the image layer, the way certain faces have been taught to read as threat, the way certain bodies have been taught to appear as alien, the way certain expressions of grief or joy have been taught to seem foreign and therefore frightening. This layer has been laid down slowly, deliberately, across years and screens and algorithms designed to confirm what fear already suspected. Feel the tide move into this layer now. It does not argue with the images. It does not replace them with counter-arguments. It simply withdraws the charge that has been loaded into them. The charge that makes a face a threat before a word is even spoken. It makes a body read as a problem before a name is known. Watch as the charge lifts, as faces become faces again, as bodies become bodies again. The tide carries the charge out to sea, where it disperses into something the ocean can metabolize, where it becomes, eventually, the salt that is in all of us. With your inner eyes, see other souls standing at other shorelines, on the banks of great rivers, and at the edges of still mountain lakes, in the imagined waters of landlocked places where the intention reaches toward the same purpose. These other souls are not performing the same working, but each one is shaped by their own tradition, by their own grief, their own love, but all are pulling in the same direction, lending their intention to the same tide. You are not alone in this. You were never alone in this. The collective pull deepens. Where one person's intention starts, 1,000 intentions sustain. A third and deeper tide moves now. This layer is older than the others. It is the wound layer, the genuine fear, the genuine grief, the genuine experience of loss and violation that has been taken and refined into a weapon, that has been told it can only be healed by the suffering of the named other. Every act of dehumanization is built on a wound that was real. The wound was not false, but the cure that was offered make them less than human, and you will hurt less. That was the lie. That was the fuel poured in. Feel the tide move into the wounded layer with extraordinary tenderness. It does not diminish the wound. It does not tell the wound that it was wrong to exist. This tide moves beneath the fuel that was poured in on top of it, and draws out that fuel. Slowly, carefully, the way a skilled healer draws poison from a wound without disturbing the living tissue around it. The wound remains. The wound is acknowledged, but the fuel, the lie that another human being's dehumanization is the cure, that lifts and moves, and the tide takes it away. Stay with this intention This is the deepest work of the night. Feel what remains when the fuel is drawn out of a wound. What remains is simply the wound, which is simply the experience of a creature who can be hurt, more simply, a human being. And underneath every act of dehumanization, on every tide of every division, that is what was always there. A creature who can be hurt. A human being who fears more hurt. Who was offered the terrible shortcut of making someone else less real as a way of feeling safer. The tide does not forgive this. It does not require you to forgive it tonight. It simply removes the fuel so that the wound can be seen clearly. And a wound seen clearly is a wound that can eventually and honestly be tended. Let this moon do what only the farthest moon can do. Feel the pull of apogee, the blue micromoon at its most distant, its most quietly authoritative, exerting its gravitational truth across the whole working. The tide does not rush or strain. It simply continues, grain by grain, layer by layer, the fuel lifting and moving and dissolving into the sea. Now feel the working expand outward from the shoreline. This is not a local banishing. The tide does not stop at the horizon. What moves through the water moves everywhere water moves, and water moves through all things. Feel the intention radiating outward through the connected field of human consciousness. Not as a force imposed from without, but as a resonance offered to what is already trying to remember itself within. Every human being who has ever, for a single moment, seen through the abstraction to the person, who has ever caught themselves mid-contempt and felt the lurch of recognition, these human beings carry a seed of this working already. You are not planting something foreign. You are watering what is already there. The moon is not forcing the tide. The moon is simply being itself, and the tide responds to what it is. Be yourself, fully, completely, a human being who refuses to stop seeing other human beings. And let that refusal move like tide through the collective field. You are the shoreline where the banishing completes. You are the place where the tide turns and the fuel is gone and the honest, dark earth is revealed. Stand in this space for a moment without words. Feel the revealed shore around you, dark and wet and bare and real. This is what remains when dehumanization's fuel is removed. Not perfection, not instant reconciliation, not the erasure of difference or difficulty or legitimate grievance. Just honest ground. The place where human beings are visible to each other again as human beings. The starting place of everything. The moon holds the tide at its fullest recession. This is the peak of the working. Hold it. Feel it. Let your intention seal into the field like salt into clay. You are the tide and the shore and the moon that commands them both. And you feel it, the collective field responding, all those other souls at their own waters, their own shorelines, their own sacred edges, their intentions merging with yours in the invisible but utterly real medium of human love, refusing to give up on its own kind. The tide begins, almost imperceptibly, to return. You might expect to feel emptied by what has been drawn out tonight, but you do not. You feel lighter, more real, as though something that had been subtly pressing against your capacity for hope has been removed, and there is room now where there wasn't before. The sea returns quietly. The first fingers of water crossing the revealed shore, and where they pass, the dark earth gleams clean. You remain at the shoreline, but something has shifted. Not in the world yet. Change in the world takes time and hands and voices and courage. But the field has changed. It has changed the invisible substrate through which human beings influence each other without knowing it. Something has been drawn out. The working is complete. You are the shore after banishing, honest, revealed, and ready. Breathe. Feel the salt air moving through you, and with it the truth of what was accomplished here. You are the tide and the shore it has cleaned. You are the working made flesh. The blue micromoon holds steady above, distant, small, blazing with the particular authority of the thing that does not need to be large to move the sea. Look at your hands. They carry the salt of the work. Look at your body. Feel the solidity of what you are. A person made of the same elements as everyone for whom this banishing was done. The same carbon, the same water, the same ancient starlight. The shoreline, once cluttered with the debris of abstraction, is bare and dark and real. It does not fix everything. It does not pretend the work of reconciliation and justice is not long and difficult and ongoing, but it clears the ground It removes the fuel, and without the fuel, the fire of dehumanization burns less hot, needs more effort to sustain, and finds less purchase in the hearts it reaches for. From this cleared place, it is possible to imagine seeing a face and knowing it is a face. From this cleared place, it is possible to imagine hearing a name and knowing it belongs to a person. From this cleared place, the long and difficult work of actual understanding becomes, at least, imaginable. Every breath you take now is a gift from the deep field of human solidarity, older and more stubborn than any force set against it. Notice how the moonlight falls on the returned water. With every gentle wave, you integrate what was accomplished here. You integrate the knowing that the mechanism of dehumanization is not natural to us. It was installed. It was taught. And what is taught can be untaught. You integrate the understanding that your grief at the state of the world is itself a form of love. You integrate the fierce, quiet faith that the tide always turns. You are carrying this banishing back into the waking world with you. The clarity of it may be the most visible when you close your eyes. When a sense of having stood at the water's edge and done something real returns to you, carry it, embrace it. What if there is nothing more required of you tonight than what you have already given? What if you are already the instrument of change that the world needs you to be? The shore knows the wisdom of the receding tide. Trust the tide. Trust the working. Trust your refusal to stop seeing. Feel yourself rising now, gently, through the layers of the working, back through the blue-silver darkness of this night, back to the seagrass, and back to the dune path, carrying with you the salt and the clarity and the deep, quiet satisfaction of the work accomplished. You are grounded in what was done here. You are returned to yourself, expanded, purposeful, more real. You carry the shoreline within you now, the tide that clears, the moon that commands, the love that refuses to abstract a human being into an enemy. Float now in the stillness after the working, quieter than before, more certain than before, ready for what the world asks of you next, because you have given it this. This banishing is your offering to the field, woven by moonlight and tide and love. I see the human being before I see the category. The fuel of dehumanization dissolves in my presence. My grief for this world is a form of love. I refuse to abstract a person into a symbol. The banishing tide moves through me and beyond me. I lend my intention to the collective turning. What was installed can be removed. I am the shore after the clearing. Every face is a face before it is anything else. The moon's authority moves through my working. I release the lie that another's dehumanization heals my wound. I carry the salt of this working into the waking world. My love for humanity is stronger than my fear of the other. The mechanism of division can be dissolved. I am not too small for this work. The tide does not need my force, only my intention. I see through rhetoric to the person it tried to erase. Dehumanization is not natural, it was taught and can be untaught. I stand at the threshold of what can change. The Blue Micromoon's authority flows through this working. I banish with love, not rage. The field responds to human intention offered with care. I am connected to every soul doing this work. My refusal to stop seeing is itself a sacred act. The wound beneath division deserves honest tending. I trust the tide that always returns. I am the cleared shore, honest, bare, and ready. I carry the micromoon's quiet authority within me. What I do in the field ripples outward beyond my knowing. I am the working. I am the tide. I am the return.